Hi everybody. So I'm out in the shop and today I'm working on a 2006 Chevy Uplander minivan, and today I'm going to be replacing some transmission cooler lines. So you can see the two lines right there, the upper and lower line where there's the crimp fitting between the metal pipe and the rubber tubing, and it's all covered in oil and grime because they've been leaking pretty bad for a while. On the radiator itself, this is the upper line. Let's see if I can find the lower one. They're actually not leaking at the radiator fitting, but you can see how the line is pretty, corroded pretty badly. Thanks to the brine solution that we use here in Pennsylvania. So, got two new lines. Got them here from the Chevy dealer, so we're going to be installing these. This is basically laid out how they would be if you were underneath the car. Looking towards the radiator, you've got your upper and lower tube. This one goes into the bottom of the radiator, and this one goes up to the top. So we'll be installing these. So let's get to work. I actually don't have a lot of dripping on the ground. We've had the van sitting in the shop for about 2 days now, and there's only a couple of tiny drops here. So you actually might not notice a lot of oil in your driveway or in a parking spot, but in fact it is leaking, and these lines do need to be replaced. Under the vehicle it's pretty oily, and that's all from the transmission fluid that's been leaking out of the lines up here. And it's just getting all over, soaking the underside of the car. There's one of the leak points on the lines with the bad crimp connection. And there's the lines going up to the radiator. And then there's another bad connector there with oil leaking. And then the lines come over here where they connect to the transmission. There is a bolt holding the transmission cooler lines onto the transmission housing. I'm going to have to get in there with a 13mm socket or a wrench. And then once you get it loose, it's pretty easy to turn it out by hand. There she is. The cooler lines on the radiator are a little bit more difficult to access. As far as getting the new lines in, it just takes a little bit of finagling. For the line that goes to the top of the radiator, I actually had to install that one first, and I had to drop it down from the top to get it into position so that it was close to the radiator, and it also so that the line went over top of these AC pipes. For the bottom line that connects to the bottom of the radiator, that was pretty easy, and I only had to slide it in through this corner in the front of the vehicle and basically just slide it all the way across the front of the radiator, and then again bring the line up around these AC lines and then get it down to this position so that it'll connect. Be careful when you're installing these little clips, because there's small notches that are cut out of the fitting where the clip can get caught in. So you have to try it a couple times until you get it lined up correctly, and then it'll push right on. These black plastic caps are very important because they're used to retain that little C-clip. So when you put these on, make sure that they're on all the way and that they're sitting straight. If they're not pushed on all the way, they could be crooked and then the clip can fall out. This bottom right cooler line actually turned out to be the hardest one to install, and I had to put the camera down so I could use two hands to get it in. You kind of had to bend the line a little bit and angle it to get the correct attack for putting that end into the fitting. Check out inside. Look at the finished job. Get the bottom line in, the top line in, and also clipped in the cooler lines to the little plastic bracket that holds them onto the radiator assembly. And then they route up around the AC lines. And don't forget about tightening the bracket that holds the lines onto the transmission. And then here's the lines installed with the little clip keepers. Got to make sure that these little black plastic keepers are installed and that they're pressed all the way on to the fitting and that they're straight and they're not put on crooked to make sure that that clip doesn't fall out. And then finally, when you're done, just grab a rag, wipe up around everything, and it's going to be oily and messy, but try to get off the most you can. Clean it up, make it look good. Take a look at the top radiator connection. So that's what it looks like. Really difficult to get a camera in here and do the work at the same time, so I wasn't able to record changing this out, but here's what it looks like when it's all done and installed. And then finally, we've got one job left to do. Check the transmission fluid level and make sure that we've got enough fluid on the stick. Obviously, we want to do this with the engine running and warmed up and parked on a level surface in neutral, but you get the idea. So there's all the junk left over. Box to catch the oil and the dirt, and the old transmission cooler lines, a little rusted and rotty and leaking. And not a whole lot of oil comes out, so that's really all we got was just, you know, maybe a cup. Not that much, but it sure does make a mess. So there we have it. Transmission cooler line replacement on a 2006 Uplander. Pretty cool. Well, if you have any questions or any comments, post them below. And thanks for watching. And if you like my videos, please subscribe.